Hi there. I want to continue our discussion in the Fourth Amendment realm. Specifically, we're talking about reasonable suspicion, and this is going to be our last video on reasonable suspicion for now. We'll come back to it in the future when we deal with some specific topics, but after this video, we're going to be moving on to probable cause. And this is not going to be a very long video. There's just one small topic that I wanted to make sure we made a video on. And the topic is, well, what is a police officer allowed to ask for during a detention? It's a common question that we get. What would I have to tell a police officer when I'm being detained? And many states have different laws as to what kind of information you have to provide a police officer when you're being detained. Where this question really arises is everyone remembers that they have this right against self-incrimination. It's a right that's read to people when a police officer is reading them their Miranda rights. So it's a right that people should have in mind. But does that mean that you can refuse to tell the police officer anything? Or, where's the line? And I think that that's a good question to have. So the Supreme Court has looked at a case where they dealt with this specific issue. In that case, there was a report about a assault between a man and a woman in a pickup truck, and it was a call from somebody who was driving by. And so a police officer was dispatched out to that location. The police officer went out there and found a pickup truck with a man outside and a woman inside. And when the police officer asked the man, like, hey, can I see some identification? The man refused to show any identification, refused anything, and then ended up actually being arrested for obstructing or delaying the police officer in the lawful performance of the police officer's duties. So the Supreme Court was looking at this case to decide, well, did the man have to say anything? I mean, did the man have to give any information? And the Supreme Court ultimately decided that in the course of a detention, it's as long as it's germane to the purpose of the stop and of the detention, the police officer can ask for identification, and then you would have to give that identification. How far does that go? Well, the Supreme Court hasn't looked at a ton of cases on this same topic, so we don't have such a clear extent of where the line between giving your name and your ID to a police officer is versus actually incriminating yourself. But we know that the Supreme Court has said providing your name is not protected under the right against self-incrimination. So during a detention, a police officer can ask for your identification. So I hope that answers some of your questions. And that might be dancing between a couple different issues like reasonable suspicion versus self-incrimination, so it's, but I wanted to talk about it now because I think it's important to understand it in the context of a detention. And so thanks for joining me today. If you have questions as to this point, remember to consult with an attorney. This is supposed to give you some basic general knowledge. So thank you again. I look forward to seeing you next time when we talk about probable cause.